Omagyanatavarandasya ginanjana salakaya Chakshurumalitam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. This is a little, evoking the blessings of the Guru. We're all born in ignorance, didn't know anything, right? When we're born, we don't know anything. So our first guru is our gurus, is our parents. They teach us how to be civilized. Of course, some parents don't teach their children how to be civilized, unfortunately. That's there also. But the spiritual master, he opens our eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. This is the spiritual master. There's a lot of ignorance in the material world. So the spiritual master, he comes and gives us knowledge by which ignorance can be destroyed. Knowledge is very powerful. So there's one teacher who had 24 gurus. Generally we have one Diksha Guru, who is the spiritual master. He gives a name and you make vows to the spiritual master. This is a statue of Srila Prabhupada, who is he's a Diksha Guru. He passed away 45 years ago, but he has many disciples who became Diksha Gurus. But there's also Siksha Gurus, who you learn from. There's many advanced devotees that devotees take guidance from, called Siksha, instructing Guru. But this particular person in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he had 24 gurus. And one of the gurus he had was air. You can't even see air. But it was one of his gurus. Now how do you learn from air? Well, he gives the example that air goes by fragrant flowers, yeah? And it carries the fragrance, yeah? Carried by the chariot of the wind. The fragrance is carried by the chariot of the wind. And then it goes, the air will go on, and sometimes it goes by not very pleasant smells, like garbage can. And it goes on, just keeps on going. It's neutral to the different smells. So similarly, a devotee, he may be in some wonderful circumstance, some pleasing circumstance. You know, he's staying in a big house and so many people serving him. But he goes on and he speaks the message of the Supreme Krishna. And sometimes he may be in a poor circumstance, but he's not affected. He's neutral, just keeps going, not affected. Just like Srila Prabhupada, that's who we refer to, this guru here. He had millions of dollars at his fingertips, and he could stay at temples all around the world, 108 temples. But he was not attached. He was neutral. He wasn't attached to anything he had. He understood everything belongs to the Supreme, and that he's a servant. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's stated that the soul carries different concepts of life, carries different desires and karma, life after life, just like the air carries aromas. So we're going life after life due to our previous activities. And this creates a lot of variety. That's why we see so much variety in the world, because we all have different karma. Just like here in San Diego, there's some people that have big, beautiful mansions. And some people, they have little apartments. So why is that? Because in their past life, they paid good karma, pious activity. Pious activity, therefore they paid for that. Just like here, you pay good money, you get a big house. You don't have much money, you get a small apartment. So in their previous lives, due to pious activities, they're in a good circumstance. Janmaisvarya Shuta Shibir, to have a high birth, to have opulence, to have knowledge. Janmaisvarya Shuta Shibir. This is due to past pious activities. But this is not the perfection of life, is to gain some prosperity. The perfection of life is to understand our spiritual nature. And this human form of life is actually a great boon. It's a golden opportunity to advance in spiritual life. There's a song that we all used to sing when we were children. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. Actually, this little stanza has deep meaning. No one knows who wrote it. It's written back in like 1700s or 1800s. Nobody knows who actually wrote it. But whoever did had some spiritual insight. Because this body is like a boat by which you can cross the vast ocean of material existence. Death, old age, disease, so much struggle for existence. So this is a very valuable boat by which we can cross over this ocean. Now imagine there's a boat out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Now the example I'm giving to you is before there was engines in the boats. Remember in the past they used to have sails. They would, the boats would go across and they'd go by sails. No engines. So imagine there's a boat out there and there's a sail, but there's no wind. How far can he go? No wind, huh? Not very far. He can't go anywhere. He's not going to go anywhere with no wind. So the wind is compared to the Vedas, the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, so many Vedic literatures, the Puranas, so many Vedic literatures. So these are compared to wind that help push the boat to the other side. And now you have a boat, and you have a sail, and you have wind. Still, you need a captain. Without a captain, it's just going to go in circles because he's got to navigate the boat. So the spiritual master, he's the captain on this boat. So an intelligent person will utilize this human form of life so that we can cross over this ocean of material existence. It's called samsara. Samsara means the repetition of birth and death. Nobody wants to die. Nobody wants to get old, get diseased. But these things are forced upon us. But there's a way out, and that's given to us in the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita is an instruction guide on how to live the human form of life, how to be happy, even within this life, actually. Just like there's the guru here is giving the learning from air. So there's internal air, there's prana. It's like we're breathing, and sometimes we burp. That's another type of air. And there's different types of air in the body. There's internal air. And then there's external air. So there's also external happiness that people are trying to achieve in this world, and quite often becoming frustrated. But there's also internal happiness. Krishna says, Yontu sukha saramasya, that one whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is understood to be already liberated. So how do you get this internal happiness? Well, actually, this mantra that we were chanting, this is a way to achieve inner happiness. Us monks here, we chant this mantra for 2 hours every day, and it brings inner happiness if you get into it. But you got to be, somewhat practicing, reading the books also. But this mantra, believe it or not, it brings great joy to millions of people around the world. It's called the Maha Mantra. There's many mantras. This is called the great mantra for purification. Very powerful. So this is how to get this inner happiness. And of course, hearing Bhagavad Gita, I remember the first time I read the Bhagavad Gita, I couldn't put it down. It's a book like this big. I read it in 7 days. So interesting. And it brought inner happiness. Knowledge, spiritual knowledge brings inner happiness. So what we're teaching here is the education of detachment, being neutral to this world. In school, we learned the education of attachment. Pretty much people are in school, to get an education, and what's the result they want? Good money, right? Yeah, they want money. Good facility, nice big house, big car. Just like in the universities, the business course is always huge. Engineering course, huge. But if you look in the philosophy section, there may not even be a course on philosophy. So you can't learn much about life in the present university or school system. But this is also a university, it's a spiritual university where people can learn about who they are, what the goal of life is, what happens at the time of death. So this little song goes on, row, row, row your boat gently down the street, gently down the stream. In this age, we have the rugged individualism, road rage, and so much domestic violence. But no, we should be gentle. I met one person not long ago. He had a big cast on his hand, on his arm. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, I was thinking about one person that got me angry, and I punched a wall. The wall won. So people get angry over such little things. So how to give up anger? By giving up jealousy and envy, we can give up anger. Yeah. We should try to understand that everybody is a spirit soul. It's a big family, believe it or not, the whole world. Everybody is a spirit soul, part of the Supreme Being. And one nice quality of this personality, Srila Prabhupada, is that he was so pure that he practically loved everyone. He just wanted to give everyone this opportunity to advance in spiritual life. An extraordinarily great personality. And because of his guidance, because of his teachings, all over the world, millions of people are experiencing this inner happiness. Because he was there, he experienced this inner happiness. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So the goal of life is to be happy. But you have to know how to achieve that happiness. Material happiness comes and goes. Yeah. Comes and goes. But spiritual happiness, it's always increasing. And this is what we all want, right? We all want a happiness that's always increasing. But material life doesn't give that. Because material things are temporary. But we're not temporary. We're the eternal soul within. We don't die. All these material things that people are trying to enjoy, they get old. The nature of time is that everything. The nature of time is that it causes everything to be destroyed. Yeah, destruction. This is the nature of time, the power of time. Everything eventually is destroyed, but not the spirit, not the soul. So to connect with the Supreme Soul, this is called yoga. Bhakti yoga means to connect with the Supreme Soul. And this brings unlimited happiness. Krishna, he's known as a reservoir of pleasure. Unlimited pleasure is emanating from Krishna. There's no limit. And anybody that connects with the Supreme Being, Krishna, experiences this pleasure. So I got a question for you. Who here does not have a Bhagavad Gita? Okay, one. Okay, we'll try two. We'll try to get some. Do we have any? Actually, do we have any Bhagavad Gitas? Okay. Yeah, we'll try to find some for you. Oh yeah. Okay. So maybe we'll open this up now for any questions or comments, or if you have any reflections, something that you thought was interesting that you'd like to comment on. Yes, the microphone is just now coming.
Thank you for the nice class. Can we have material things and appreciate them, and or even be attached to them, and love God at the same time?
Yeah. But we have to understand that whatever it is that we're using, it's not ours. We're borrowing. Everything we have, we're borrowing. There's a statement in our Vedic literatures, Isavasyam idang sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam chigat chena chak chena bunjita magridha kashasvidyanam. That everything that exists is owned and controlled by the Supreme Being. Therefore, we should only accept that which we need as our quota and not accept more. So we don't need much. But yeah, we have to use things, you have to have a roof over our head and got to get around and food and so many things. So this is all being supplied by Krishna. The dream is that we think things are ours. This is the last part of that. Merrily, life is but a dream. So we all had dreams at night. Some of the dreams are pleasant, some are unpleasant. But then we also have our daydreams. We wake up from our night dreams, and then we wake up to another daydream, where we think, I'm American, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm Joe Schmo. No, we're spirit souls. We're not these bodies at all. We're the soul within. I remember I was speaking to one person at the Los Angeles restaurant, how we're the soul within. We're not this body. We're part of the Supreme. And he said, well, aren't we just a little bit the material body? I said, no, sorry, we're not the body at all. We're the soul within. 100% we're the soul within. So when we have that reality, when we wake up to that reality, one's spiritual life just really takes off. And real life begins with spiritual life. Wake up from this dream. Just like there's people that sleepwalk. Someone might think they're awake, just from a distance, but then they get close. They say, oh, this person. It's like in the Denver temple, there was a person, one of our monks, he would sleepwalk. And as soon as a devotee would see him, he's sleeping. But he's moving around. Very unusual. Huh? So people throughout the world, it looks like they're awake. They're moving around, but because they're not spiritually enhanced, they're actually sleeping. So the purpose of the human form of life is to wake up. Wake up to our spiritual understanding that we're the soul within. We're not this body at all. And when this body dies, we're not going to die at all. We're going to continue according to how we live this life. We're the architects of our future. We can either go up or we can go down. There's a statement by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita that those in the mode of goodness, they go up. There's the heavenly planets. You see how liberal Krishna is. That someone can just be in the mode of goodness, not have any interest in God, but he's a very good person. He's kind, he's generous, he's charitable, and someone just in the mode of goodness, they can go up to the higher planetary system, but they can't go to the highest. The highest goal is the spiritual world. Mode of goodness won't take one there. One has to be in the mode of pure goodness, where one is devoted to Krishna, completely devoted to Krishna. Then one is qualified to go to the highest goal, the spiritual world. And in this verse, he says that those in the mode of passion, they stay in this middle planetary system. And those in the mode of ignorance, they go down to the lower planetary system. Some people think that there's life only on our planet. Wrong. There's life on every planet. Why would there be life only on this planet? No. On every planet there's life. And in many planets they're much, much, much more intelligent than us on this planet. Any other question or? Yes.
So, being of the material world and the material body, it seems like, there's certain needs that people
Maybe
have to
put
have.
the microphone. There you go. Yeah.
There's certain needs that people need to have met. How you were saying, needing to have food to get around, a house, a roof over their head. I feel like in my life I've seen so many people that don't have those things, and where sometimes people who have less than that, are happier, and people who have more than that are not. But for those who are kind of in the middle, who are struggling and who struggle with their spirituality as well, what is advice to impart onto those?
Thank you. Yeah. It's interesting that I was just thinking about that. There's people that voluntarily accept poverty. For instance, Saint Francis of Assisi. He was a great, one of the most famous Christians that ever lived. But he accepted the vow of poverty. Now, when you accept the vow of poverty, that's a whole nother ballgame. Because of he did that because of his spiritual advancement. And there's many saintly persons in our line also. The 6 Goswamis, many of them were very wealthy, but they went to Vrindavan and they would live under a different tree every night. They were homeless, but they were extremely elevated spiritually. So that's also there. And there's people that are, living in big mansions and they're just miserable. So for people that are in between, the best thing is if one dedicates oneself to service to the Supreme, then everything is taken care of. He's in control of everything. Nothing moves without the sanction of Krishna. So if we dedicate ourselves to the service of Krishna, then no problem. Just like Prabhupada, when he was in Calcutta, there was a big, what do you call it, when the prices went up like anything. Huh? Inflation, yeah, it was just ridiculous though. It was like a depression. For one day the rice was, 50 cents for a bag, and the next day it was like, $20 or something. It was just ridiculous. So Prabhupada asked some of his friends who are also devotees of Krishna, how are you doing? Everything okay? Yeah, everything's okay. No problem. So Krishna takes care. But we have to also want to serve. Yeah? Then Krishna, he makes arrangements mystically. Krishna is known as the master of mystics. If you find yourself going towards Krishna, you'll see the magic of Krishna, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Something's happening here, mystically. Okay? Is that okay? Anything else? Yes.
Thank you for your talk,
Michael.
Vijay. Beautiful. Really enjoyed it. So I'm just picking up a little bit on what Dhamaraj's question was in terms of, being of Krishna consciousness and struggling against materialism. So my question, I guess, for you is, I assume we consider this a flaw, shortcoming. And even though we're in this, like a struggle, right, between rescinding, surrendering, all of that unnecessary materialism, not the basics, but what we know is unnecessary, and we still find ourselves, or I still find myself, wanting. So what is the solution there? Is it just to just continue Krishna consciousness and then eventually it'll just fall away on its own when we get that higher taste type thing? Or
yeah, as we advance in spiritual life, then we become more and more detached from material things in general. There's a statement in our Vedic literatures, Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksharthameka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sarir Hari Kripambudhir Yasna Mahampapadye. That Lord Chaitanya, he is the latest incarnation of Krishna. He came to teach detachment. We don't need much. You know, just like, what was it, Gandhi said, there's plenty enough for our needs, but not enough for our greed. Yeah. So some people, they just want to get more and more and more and more and more and more money, and, you know, billions of dollars in the bank. Why? Yeah. No need. We don't need much, actually. For our needs, we don't need much. For our greed, so much. Never enough. Want more and more and more. So our motto in Krishna consciousness is simple living, high thinking. We live simply. Don't need much. But we try to think in a high way. Here in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have so many wonderful books that can help you become very elevated in spiritual life and help you become detached. So he came to teach us vairagya, renunciation, vidya, knowledge, spiritual knowledge. This is what is so needed in society now, is spiritual knowledge. So they could understand who they are and what this is all about. What happens at the time of death? Why am I here? These questions are very important. And the knowledge given in these books give all the answers. Many monks, friends of mine, said when I read these books, all my questions were answered. I felt the same way. So, highly recommended to read these books. You know. From hearing comes understanding. Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, he said that the dog, they see with their nose, right? They're smelling everything, right? The materialistic people, they see with their eyes. They want to see everything, you know, TV and, you know, this and that, and you know, YouTube and this and that. Just seeing so many. But the saintly people, they see with their ears. See with their ears. From hearing, we understand the truth. But there's many people who say they have the truth. So who do we know? How do we know who has the truth? You judge by the results. Just like there might be two people that are diseased. And one goes into one doctor's office, another goes into another doctor's office. One person comes out of the doctor's office and he's healed. The other person comes out of the other doctor's office and he's not healed. So who do you go to? Which doctor you go to? You go to the doctor that healed the person. Judged by the results. Just like the monks here. We, like I said, we live a very simple life. We don't go to the movies. We don't watch TV. We do a lot of meditation. We rise early, and we just try to absorb ourselves in the absolute truth. And the result of that is that, you know, those persons who are taken to this, they become very peaceful, very satisfied, very happy. Although they're not engaged in any material activities, it's just spiritual activities. They're very satisfied. So you're judged by the results. Yes, a microphone, please, for this gentleman. What's your name?
I have it actually.
Oh, yeah, okay, you ask. Yeah, please, what's your name?
Sister.
Okay.
But my question is,
Yeah.
I am actually genuinely curious. I don't know if there is answer to it, but either
Okay,
way.
we'll try.
So, if everything is like made by God, if everybody's soul is part of God, like why are there evil people? Where did that evil come from?
Uh-huh. Very good question. Thank you. Yeah, if you're looking at the sun, then you just see light, right? Right? If you turn away from the sun, you're in the shade. You don't see the light, right? So people that are interested in spiritual life, they're looking towards God, trying to understand and to serve. People that aren't interested, they turn away. And that's the evil. People that turn away from Krishna, that's how the evil comes. So it's not, God hasn't created it. It's we turn away. Just like here in America, there's so many good citizens, millions and millions of them. But there's also hundreds of thousands of criminals. I heard there's 2 million in prison now in America because they didn't want to follow the law. They turned away from the law, so they became evil and they were punished. So it's not, you can't call it, you can't say it's the government's fault. Should have been a better government, right? You can't blame the government. They're giving opportunity. This is the land of opportunity, right? But although it's the land of opportunity, they turn away from being a good citizen and decide to be a bad citizen, so they get punished. So people misuse their free will and turn away. So that's how the evil comes. Okay? Yes.
Yeah, so my question is given everything we've talked about this evening, is having like goals and ambition and even like worldly noble intentions even worthwhile if spirituality is like the highest goal?
Yeah. So you're asking, is this good or?
Are they good? Are they things even worth focusing and spending time on because they're just worldly?
Oh, material things.
Yeah, the idea of like,
Yeah.
Yes.
Good question. Thank you. Yeah, generally because we've grown up in a materialistic society, people generally go towards materialism. They want these, it's just like I mentioned, the modern educational system it's education for materialism, for attachment to material things. So it's very difficult to pull away from that because it's ingrained in us to get material things, to get as much as we can. You know, this is America. It's a consumer society. You know, get things and things and more things. Like they had I heard there was a survey done like 100 years ago to 500 people. What is your greatest fear? And the greatest fear was war, because it wasn't too long before that there was a civil war. So that was still there, still in people's mind. And about 5 years ago, they did the same survey. What is your greatest fear? About 500 people. What is your greatest fear? Greatest fear? Losing their cell phone. How many of you were ever in anxiety because you thought you lost your cell phone? Yeah. could be a big anxiety. So previously we used to love people and use things. Now more and more we're loving things and using people. So better to go the spiritual direction, try to become spiritually elevated. We need material things, like I said, we need a roof over our head, we need food, we need to get around, you need a car or something, you have to work, but we don't need much. But we do need a lot of spiritual wisdom. So we should absorb it as much as possible so that we can grow spiritually. One wise person in Australia once said that if you don't learn something new every day about life, you waste that day. So we have so many nice books for you to read that you could learn something new every day. And even these books are so special, like the Bhagavad Gita. I've read it. I lost count how many times I've read it. But each time I read it, I get something new. Because every time you read it, you're on another level. See? So I highly recommend reading these books. And we're going to get some Bhagavad Gitas for you, or something. If not Bhagavad Gita, something good. We have many books out here also, if any of you are interested. Okay, so thank you very much.